Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Sunday, January the 12th. We're happy to have you here for another episode. First Sunday without Titans football, mercifully. Thank the higher powers above that season has come to an end, and now it's been a hell of a week since the last time we met on a Sunday night talking about the Tennessee Titans. Rand Carthon has been fired since then. Mike Keith has left to become the voice of the Vols since then. Derrick Henry has had another immaculate playoff performance since then. And Mike Vrabel has been hired by the New England Patriots, the former Tennessee Titans head coach. And there are some benefits for you. I know it's been a tough week for you guys out there. Most of you have, really let me hear your angst on a variety of different fronts. And I'm be honest with you, I have instigated a little bit of that as well. I don't want to be completely disingenuous with you, but it's an interesting thing. It really is an interesting thing to see what the hell happens with this football franchise. And now you're going to get a head-to-head with the guy that you let go that wasn't quite the starting point for the downward spiral, but his firing was a piece of the downward spiral that you have experienced over the course of the last 3 years. So now we'll find out whether you were right or whether you were wrong about letting Mike Vrabel go when the Patriots come to Tennessee in 2025, because Mike Vrabel is going to be the next Patriots head coach. Before we get into the pros and the cons of this, because there are pros as well, or one specific pro is a kind of double-edged sword type of situation for Amy Adams Strunk. We need you guys to share the broadcast around Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch, wherever you get involved. We would appreciate you live streaming the show. If you are hanging out on Twitter, please retweet the show in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share. You can share now to public. That's in the bottom left. If you're on YouTube or on Twitch, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend to do the same wherever it is that you are live streaming at this point. JR says, LOL Curtis, talking to somebody else in the chat. He says, I called Vrabel. No, literally anybody could have told you that I could have told you last year that Mike Vrabel was going to the New England Patriots because he was sick and tired of being here and putting up with the nonsense that was going on here. And it has been nonsensical, and a lot more of that nonsense has been exposed over the course of these last 3 seasons, which has seen a great deal of the blame fall at the feet of Amy Adams Strunk. But yeah, I mean, the idea that it was some like, oh, I called that one. Please. Mike Vrabel to the Patriots was the biggest layup of the most easy to predict thing of anything that happened throughout the course of the 2024 NFL season and now into the 2025 offseason. And, they're happy to have him back, and they're happy that you let him go.
And then so hopefully, I can go back and coach and teach the same things that I learned and hopefully, kind of steer them in the right way.
That is the perfect fit of what New England's probably looking for.
And he's a member of the team's Hall of Fame. It just makes too much sense for him not to be the Patriots coach.
Because he is proven. He had the #1 seed and made an AFC championship game different years.
He's on that very short list of coaches who have had success in the NFL. Obviously, Mike's a very bright guy, knows the rules better than anybody else.
First off, he's just a high-quality human being. Smart, intelligent, charismatic. Mike was really good at a lot of things. He was one of the most complete all-around football players I've ever played with.
I want to thank the fans that made coming and playing in this stadium unbelievably special. When we traveled, you were there. When we were here, you were there. And when you threw the snow, and every memory that comes back right now. So I want to thank you, fans, for the opportunity to stand here today in front of you. But I also want you not to take this organization for granted. I've been a lot of places. This is a special place with great leadership, great fans, great direction.
Ability to stand in front of a room and take over. That's what you're getting with Vrabel. He's a guy who combines credibility with the chops, catching touchdowns in the Super Bowl.
First and goal at the Eagle 2. Double setback. Back to throw. Brady fires. End zone. Caught. Touchdown. It's Vrabel. Mike Vrabel. All right.
And Warner goes back to throw. And here's the blitz by Mike Vrabel. The pass is intercepted. Picked up by Tyrone.
Drops back to throw. Here comes the pressure. Hit. Ball on the ground. Let's see who has it.
Patriots recover at the Carolina 19. Fires, touchdown! Touchdown in the end zone to Mike Vrabel! Tom Brady, 1.5 yards to Mike Vrabel. Patriots take the lead.
Enjoy it. It's not like this everywhere. Thank you very much.
Oh, man. I mean, this is going to be fascinating. Fascinating on a variety of different fronts because he's not walking into as good a situation as he had the last time that he took over a team. And I think I saw Austin Stanley today tweet something to the effect of, all right, we'll see what happens when we'll see how good a coach Mike Vrabel is when he takes over a team that's not coming off of the first playoff win that the franchise has experienced in 14 years. That was a quality team that Mike took over, and they went 9-7, and they had a win-and-in situation, and Marcus was a healthy scratch in Week 17 against Andrew Luck and the Colts visiting here on Sunday Night Football. It was a big to-do, and then they had, great success for 4 seasons and petered out in a pretty disappointing fashion in the last 2 seasons. In 22, it was really tough, 7 straight losses. And then 23, that was probably the cratering of the roster in a real and meaningful way after the whole John Robinson situation. So there's a lot of different things to this. Huss on is that Facebook says, who cares? Well, you should care because one, the pros to this, your 2 Rivers Ford take, what are the pros for the Titans to the Patriots signing Mike Vrabel? Let me know if you can think of any pros, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And I'll give you one definitive pro here in just a second, right after I remind you that 2 Rivers Ford makes your 2 Rivers Ford take possible. Quality American-made Ford vehicles, award-winning customer service. Go to 2 Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet. I'll be at 2 Rivers Ford on Thursday. I'm going out there to get the car serviced. Had a little bit of inclement weather. Just want to make sure that everything's running as best as possible. Need a little air in my tires, things like that. 2 Rivers Ford will get you taken care of the way that they take care of me and the way that they've taken care of so many other millions of Middle Tennesseans over the course of the last 40-plus years. 2 Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at 2riversford.com for more information. So the most obvious pro is that you gave Mike Vrabel, Amy gave Mike Vrabel, Amy Adams Strunk gave Mike Vrabel a 4-year extension in 2022. That now comes off the books. That's offset from him getting a job in New England. That is the definitive pro that you have about all this stuff. Now, there are a couple of different ways to look at this because you can look at it and say, well, all right, let's see what he's got. Let's see if it's actually as hyped up as you have been. You have been, I think, as a Titans fan base, really, I guess your organization. Let me not say Titans fans because Titans fans aren't the ones that are being pointed at and laughed at, essentially, for letting Mike Vrabel go. But the Titans organization, basically by national consensus, and people understand here in Tennessee why things soured and how things soured. And Mike got too big a head for his boss, and she wasn't going to put up with it anymore. Sometimes that happens in employee and employer relationships. So you completely understand Mike Vrabel is not blameless for not being the Titans head coach anymore, but he's probably better off for not being the Titans head coach anymore at a certain point. And I think he's in a better position even now than he was back in 2018 when he took over this job. This is a situation where you've got the promising young quarterback who's shown development, and he'll have some bumps and bruises in the road, but you've got the most cap space available in the NFL. You're going to have more personnel control than you did here in Tennessee, so nobody can take your A.J. Brown and trade it out from under you and all these different things that piss Mike off and route to wanting personnel control. And you're going to have an organization that essentially caters to you instead of being scared to give you too much control. Now, at the end of the day, it's not Mike Vrabel's team, right? The Tennessee Titans are Amy Adams Strunk organization, and she decided that she wasn't going to let Mike Vrabel have as much control as he had. But she can also be wrong about that, right? Because Mike is an intelligent human being. More often than not, he's going to make good football decisions. And for an owner to look at it and say, well, I just don't want to deal with you. You're not as manageable as you used to be. Go somewhere else. those decisions are going to be nitpicked until we see the results on the field. Now, Mike is dealing with a 4-win football team, or a team that's coming off 4 wins, which is a pretty stark departure from a team that was ready to go, just needed a talent infusion or a little bit of juice at the quarterback position in 19, when they soldiered through 18 with Mariota, then 6 games of Marcus in 19 before Tannehill, AFC Championship, the whole thing. Coach of the Year in 2021, the most effective offense, the most efficient offense that the Titans era has ever had in 2020. They had great success until they didn't. And then John Robinson's drafting caught up for them. And yeah, I think that Mike is like most coaches. Mike is like most coaches in the NFL. I think most coaches would probably win 7 to 9 games if their roster was good enough. I don't think that any of these guys are complete and total bozos. You don't make it to these professions. Some guys, squeak by, or what's the word that I'm looking for? Snake their way into certain situations that they probably shouldn't have been. But for the most part, these people are largely competent at what it is that they do. So, like Vrabel's situation here, I think if Callahan had a appreciably better roster, they'd probably win more games. If he didn't have a quarterback that was not exclusively responsible for them tying the league or tying the league low in I guess it's the league high technically in giveaways last year. They were tied with the Browns for 34 giveaways, and obviously Will Levis was a significant part of that. You're probably looking at a better football team than 3-14. Like, I'm going to give Brian Callahan a little bit more credit than that, even though I've been pretty hard on him this year. And I think that's deserved, given what was talked about, what his expertise is supposed to be, what did ultimately not come to fruition, and the fact that everything got appreciably worse, even though it was a more talented roster. So I think that there are 2 sides to this coin, right? It's a double-edged sword for Amy Adams Strunk with Mike Vrabel getting a job, because, yeah, you're fine to take him off your books. But the other part of this is that she may think beneficial, and you may not think beneficial just yet, is if she decides to fire Brian Callahan, she's got the money to do so now. Or at least maybe she always had the money to do so. And I think that she was capable of paying 2 coaches in Mike Vrabel and Brian Callahan if she decided that she didn't want to move forward with that. But she decided that she did want to move forward with that. Her specifically decided that she wanted to move forward with Brian Callahan as the coach of the Titans. Mike Vrabel being fired, or Mike Vrabel being hired, frees up those resources because it offsets the extension that she gave Mike in 2022, which also makes it more financially viable to fire Callahan if she decides that is not the progress, or she is not seeing sufficient progress, which she is known to do at this point. It would fall in line with at least the seemingly erratic nature of Amy Adams Strunk decision-making, where we are now in the 3rd straight offseason where they have made a coach or a change at either the coach or the general manager position. John, Vrabel, Carthon, Callahan next. That's kind of where we're looking at this point in time. We'll get to some of your questions on this here in just a second. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. In the comment section is how you get involved. What are the pros for the Titans of the Patriots making Mike Vrabel their next head coach? We will talk at length together right after I remind you, the primetime program made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com. Get your dream address without the stress with the official real estate agent of me and also the Nashville Predators at GaryAshton.com. So, some questions that you guys have. Buck says, Major Keys, why does the Titans organization have structure issues? Why can't they hire people to their position and allow them to play that? Buck, why does the Titans organization have structure issues? Why can't they hire people to their position and allow them to play that role? Why does it seem like power struggles? Oh, well, the simplest answer to that is things changed from the time that Amy Adams Strunk took over this role as the controlling owner to the point that we're at now. Amy Adams Strunk had, who I believe to be one of the most pivotal people in the Titans franchise history that doesn't get talked about nearly as much as he should be talked about, which is Steve Underwood. Steve Underwood, the former general counsel for Bud Adams, who became then the team president when they moved to Tennessee and served in 2 different stints as the team president and also in an advisory role to Amy Adams Strunk and to Bud Adams. Now, Bud Adams, known for his erratic decision-making. I don't know Amy. Amy's not out there as much as Bud was, but it looks like Amy might have some of Bud's erratic decision-making. Maybe that's me jumping to conclusions, but I don't know. The evidence of the last 3 seasons would make you think, okay, maybe she's got a little more Bud to her than you might have previously realized, just because it doesn't show itself or just because she isn't double middle fingers at Bills fans when she's had too much red wine to drink. This is something that is fair to expect that the daughter of Bud Adams is in there somewhere, even if you don't publicly see it as much as you did with Bud. So Steve Underwood, as a just general, not even in the sense of like general counsel, meaning like the legal, the chief attorney of the Tennessee Titans, but generally just there to counsel people, right? To provide advice, to provide perspective, to provide a buffer, essentially, from an organization that may be inclined to make rash moves. Steve Underwood retiring for the second time has been honestly, I think, the biggest falling out of the Tennessee Titans, because that's where you started to see the emotional decision-making. That's where you started to see people jockeying for position to get closer to Amy Adams Strunk, to have her ear. You had Burke Nihill, who ended up helping her in great part to get the stadium, which is going to be a crown jewel of any NFL ownership structure, especially when they get public money to do that. And they did get it. The city had a really bad deal on the initial Titan Stadium, so they almost had no choice, no matter how good or how bad the other side's negotiating prowess was on the part of the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans had a really, really good deal in place with the city that the city decided to amend in order to grant them the new stadium. So there was a couple of wheels being greased here. So now I think Burke Nihill has a good bit of juice with Amy Adams Strunk. He has said publicly that Amy has empowered him to speak on behalf of the organization. You can determine how you feel about that one way or the other. Even if she's not doing it for herself, does it make you feel better to know that she's entrusted the former team general counsel, which is what Burke Nihill was? And this has been the first experience that he's had in the NFL world. I mean, he's been here for, I would say that Burke has been here for at least, I would think, 8 or 9 seasons at this point in time under Steve Underwood, and then took over that role from Steve Underwood. And now he's somebody who's got a fair amount of juice in this situation. But the worst thing to happen to this organization is that Steve Underwood, in recent memories, that Steve Underwood retired, because that, I think, is where you start to see the spiral of the decision-making, in particular with the people that are advising her on a couple of different things, or the people that are just, going hands off and be like, all right, Amy, it's your bag. Do what you want here, and we'll be here to clean up your mess after the fact. Woody Banter 96 says, no, she doesn't have erratic decision-making. Buck, you're just grasping for narratives. No, I don't think I am. You're entitled to your opinion. Your opinion is incorrect here. But no, I don't think this is a particular, I mean, it's not like I have to grasp for this narrative. These narratives continue to just drop into our lap like atom bombs on a weekly basis based on her decision-making. So there can be justifications. There are 2 sides to every story, and she seems unwilling to tell hers very often, or at least to tell it from her perspective rather than through intermediaries that she has empowered to speak on her behalf. But no, I don't have to grasp for anything. This organization is best described as erratic in the last 3 years because of the decisions that she continues to make. That is not something that I don't even have to reach hardly at all. I don't even have, I mean, it's in front of me. It's in front of me every day. And it's told to me by the people who work in that building, who have worked in that building, who may no longer work in that building, who still work in that building. There's a variety of different people who are so distraught. And by the way, at every level of the organization, it's not just exclusively football or exclusively business or anywhere else. There are a variety of different people who are miserable over there, working under the structure that she has created. So, no, I regret to inform you that I'm not grasping for narratives. This is just kind of where we're at with this thing. Teron Davenport of ESPN understands me because TD is on the, we'll call it the front lines, for lack of a better term, with this godforsaken franchise fell right into your lap. TD knows. I mean, these things are just out there. And again, we have not just recency bias to evaluate the level of erraticism around the franchise. These things are there to be discussed. It's just your choice as a fan whether you want to believe them. You don't have to. Nobody's twisting your arm. Nobody's got a gun to your head and saying, no, you must believe these things. Otherwise, whatever. This is something that you have to decide whether you believe these things or not. And like I said, you're entitled to your opinion. And B, you also have to decide if you're going to support them, because these are not decisions that I think most people should be comfortable supporting, but it's your team. You get to make these decisions. You get to decide how much you want to support the vision that they've put in place. But I'll tell you that the vision right now is 3-14, and that it has gotten progressively worse over a period of time. And you can continue to support that and ride with that if you want to, and hope and pray and beg and plead and all these different things. Well, it's always darkest before the dawn, or it could just keep getting shittier as it has done, because this is the kind of decision making, the kind of behavior that allows bad organizations to stay bad. And there are examples of that all over the league. The thing that you're just trying to avoid at this point in time is being one of them, because you've been one of them before prior to Amy taking over, and Amy helped save this thing from complete and total irrelevancy. But guess where it is? It's the least relevant franchise in the NFL right now, directly as a result of her decision making. So it's yours. It's up to you to make the decisions based on how these things go. Brandon on Facebook says, dude, I get get shit is effed, but Browns fans out here still spring the team for decades, whatever. Oh, support the team, I think is what Brandon is trying to say. Perhaps he just got a little ahead of himself with the typing. Yeah, but the Browns are a historic franchise, even if they became the Ravens and then they started the Browns again and all these different things that happened. The Browns have been around for a longer period of time than you. And there's just other things to do in Nashville. There's not shit to do in Cleveland. Like that's just how these things go. There are a million different things for you to do in Nashville, Tennessee that don't involve the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans, I had somebody in the league, and Lucas loves when I say keep it that vague, but it's otherwise people don't talk to you unless you keep it vague and don't completely out them, no matter how much you like or dislike the anonymous sourcing of things. I had a person in the league text me the other day and talk about, from their perspective, from a national perspective, the Titans have never been less relevant. And I had to tell them, no, it's not just nationally. People don't care about them here. And they're lucky that the Preds are horrific, the third worst team in hockey. Otherwise, there would be precious little reason to pay attention to them at all. I can't think of a time when a team has so quickly gone from, oh, they have the number one overall pick, to, oh, what are they doing over there? And is that even going to the really finding ways to diminish the hope that comes with the number one overall pick? There are so many different things that have to be considered at this point in time about the Tennessee Titans and the direction that they're heading. And again, it's up to you to determine how much, if at all, you want to continue to support. I've made myself clear on this, but I'm not a fan, and I don't pay money, and I get free parking, and I get to sit in the press box, and I go to every game, and none of these things impact me financially. I don't have financial investment in them other than I live in Nashville and I cover them as a part of my living. And I'm also, on a personal note, fed up with me spending it. To be honest, this is how I'm transparent on this stuff. They make my shit less relevant, and that pisses me off because I'm not interested in wasting my time, just as I'm not interested in having your time wasted. I'm not interested in wasting my time covering a football team that I don't believe to be serious in their decision-making or serious in their direction, because nobody's here to cape up for, well, the hours are long and you give up your weekends and all these different things. But that's what it is. For everybody that works in this space, nobody wants to have their time wasted. And so I just as I take that part maybe more personally than I should, I would also invite you to take that part a bit personally. Don't have your time wasted by an organization that needs to show legitimate correction and direction, because the time is too valuable and there are a million different things that you can do with it. I think that there is JR says Buck wouldn't live in a studio apartment if he got more takes correct. Well, I bought a 3-bedroom house in Nashville from Gary Ashton 5 years ago, and that's the best financial decision that I've ever made. I could get everything wrong for the rest of my life and still make my nut on this thing. But, as you like. I think Ben Hall says, this makes me hate the Titans. Everyone that made us relevant is gone and succeeding elsewhere. How the F does Amy not see that? Oh, because, you guys spent a good deal of time adulating her. I mean, this whole Team Mom thing is a narrative that, they put out there and you helped prop it up. So you made her feel like she was the core reason that any of those people were relevant at that point in time. Now you're telling her that she's not anymore, and the narrative seems to have changed. So that's kind of where things are at this point in time with everything that the Titans have put into place. You made her Team Mom, and then all of a sudden decided that you wanted it's not an annulment. What are those? An emancipation. You wanted an emancipation from your Team Mom. When Team Mom's looking around and being like, but I'm the one who fixed it. What do you mean, you ungrateful? Stuff like that. That's kind of where people have egos, right? Shit. I do local sports talk, and I have an ungodly ego. As an egomaniac myself, it is very easy for me to identify the same behaviors or patterns of behavior from people who work at a much higher level than any of us do. And just like any normal human being, there is pride that comes with that ego. And these things can, continue to spiral until it's too late and you're 3-14. And the most celebratory moment that you have in the middle of all this is, oh, great, we have the number 1 overall pick in a draft that's not that highly thought of. That is not necessarily going to turn these things around at this point in time. I just quickly, but before somebody made mention of me and working here and stuff like that, I had somebody respond to the tweet or one of the tweets that I put out today saying that I'm a DEI hire. And I don't know if the comfortable upper middle class, largely white man is being underrepresented in professional sports broadcasting right now. But I'm out here doing it for him, baby. I'm out here doing it for him. And that made me laugh. Maybe it was just one of those troll accounts that bought a blue check mark and is trying to farm some engagement. But man, that one made me laugh. That one made me laugh. It really did. But I'm here to cape up for my people. That's what I'm here to do. DEI. Anyway, so with all of this, there are some cons. Brinker Head Snake says that is not fair to do to me. With that's going to make it look like I'm calling Chad Brinker a snake. When that's just what the YouTube handle is. That's like Bert. Bert had fake Chad Brinker graphics that had snake eyes on them the other day that he tried to swap in and out on me. Don't wave me off as if that's not something you directly tried to do back there. Don't think that just because people can't see you doesn't mean that I can't see you. You're the snake. He's too busy playing his video games to engage right now. But this person on YouTube says, I thought you were Egyptian Buck. I am, but my 23andMe, listen, I'm not gonna cape up as a minority when you guys understand like what the vibes are. I'm very proudly Egyptian. I have all manner of trinkets from my last trip to see my family on my desk. This isn't quite a paper raid. In fact, this is actually one of you pisses me off. This could be weaponized, but I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm not one of the most privileged people that you'll find. That is what it is. But we don't have to get bogged down with my genealogy at this point in time. Curtis says one of us, you can do that. I'm not going to do that. All right. Ryan Kennedy says, but you have become the Jim Acosta of sports radio. I don't know who Jim Acosta is. And the Titans organization is in your crosshairs. No, this is what's in my purview, man. Like this is where we're at. This is the team that I cover. Don't do it, Bert. Stop it. Stop. You have to stop because nobody's going to see you doing that. They're going to they're going to put that on me when I do. I hate you so much. That is so wrong what you've done to me there that I'm going to get calls about that tomorrow morning. And I'm tired of talking to people with this. I almost said a bad word. I'm tired of talking to people about all the things that they like and don't like about the way they're being talked about. Make better decisions and win football games, and nobody will give a shit about how dysfunctional you are. That's my entire position at this point in time. JD says Buck never likes the highs, but absolutely enjoys the lows. No, there's just so many of them. Do you know what I would do to cover meaningful football? Again, this is what I'm saying. I don't like my time wasted. And just as you shouldn't like your time wasted. Like, it's been 3 years since I've covered a playoff game. You know what an utter, complete, and total waste of time that is? That's disgusting. And I know that there are franchises that have gone longer than 3 years with making the playoffs, but I'm not down for it. And I don't think that you should just let them off the hook when you're like, oh, well, the Bills went 17 years or 14 years or however long. I don't give a shit. Win a game. Be meaningful. Say what you mean and mean what you say is a line that I've used quite often from Zach Bingham, certainly here in the last week and a half. But I don't understand why people are willing to be like, oh, well, they'll cycle back up. Or you could hold their feet to the fire and say, no, you gave us expectations. You gave us standards. Now stick to your own standards. Nonsense. William Jones says, Buck, what is your dream sports market? I mean, I love Nashville. Nashville's my favorite place in the world. I love to visit New York and Los Angeles, but I would never want to live there. And I don't care about those teams. And I'm not necessarily, you couldn't, there's not enough money in the world to send me back to the state of Indiana because I don't know the cold anymore. My blood's too thin. At this point in my life, with 10 years living in Middle Tennessee, I'm not. This is as far north as I'm willing to go. Miami wouldn't be bad. Wouldn't hate Miami, but I would have to go down there with a great deal of baby powder because I am 6'2" and over 220 pounds, and that doesn't necessarily bode with the swampland of South Florida. But Nashville's my favorite city in the world. That's what it is. That's what it is. Absolutely. Jake Barr says, Bucky, you Muslim? No, my dad is. I was baptized Catholic. Not that these things matter, but I'm not a practicing Catholic. I'll just be straight up with you. My entire dad's side of the family is Muslim, but my entire mom's side of the family, I think everybody's Catholic on that side. Anyway, so Patriot Funding Solutions says, Buck, are you going to do Vol Radio next like Mike Keith? No, that's Mike. I'm so happy for Mike, man. He sent me such a sweet message the other day, and I'm sure he got back to a great many people and was just as thoughtful and considerate as Mike Keith always is. But I'm very happy for Mike that he gets to get his dream job and head in the right direction there, and call games for 106,000 instead of like 5.5 or whatever it was with that sad Houston Oilers, Houston Texans football game on this past Sunday. Anyway, with everything that's going on right now, we've done the pros. Let's do the cons. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. What are the cons to the Patriots? What are the cons for the Titans to the Patriots hiring Mike Vrabel? We'll talk about it together. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the Bart Durham Injury Law Firm. Bart Durham and his team have been serving Middle Tennessee and Kentucky for decades at this point, and they are there to make sure that you get what you deserve. You are in their hands, and their hands are trustworthy. You deserve to be paid. You can get your free consultation because even though their founder, Bart Durham, has obviously passed on, Blair Durham, his son, and their team continue to get the results that you deserve with over 75 years of experience helping people like you. Go to bartdurham.com today for more information. bartdurham.com. All right, the cons of Mike Vrabel. Cons for the Titans for Mike Vrabel, or the cons for the Titans of Mike Vrabel getting hired by the Patriots. I don't know why that's so hard for me to string together. Ben Hall says, cons if we lose, cons is the narrative will be how foolish we were to let him walk. Yeah, that already happened. I mean, you survived an offseason of that. You can, maybe it's up to you to decide whether you're going to survive another offseason of that. But yeah, people around the league looked at your team like fools when they fired Mike Vrabel a year ago. So, I mean, you've already kind of got that out there. And, if you let it compound in the coming year, I mean, nobody looks more optically right today than Mike Vrabel did, who advised against the hiring of Rand Carthon, who you already fired, and who kind of at this point looks like the duct tape that was holding this up, whether it is a shit show or not. And, I mean, it's a shit show. It is what it is. They'll get upset about people calling it a shit show, but it's been a shit show. Okay, let's call a spade a spade. He and Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill and the competent players that were here for a period of time, they kind of look like the duct tape that was holding this shit show together at this point. So it can compound things here. Eddie Gray says the cons are no compensation because the owner was silly. Yeah, the other part of this was the trade that never happened because the Patriots were interested in acquiring Mike Vrabel, and that the possibility of a trade. Amy Adams Strunk said that was not explored. They definitely were interested in trying to trade for Mike Vrabel, but then you have to have people that follow through on these deals, and there's reason to believe that based on the Gerard Mayo contract that was already in place, that the Patriots did not follow through on that. And honestly, I think that's why Mike didn't get fired until a Tuesday, right? They kind of let that hang out in the air on Monday, and then the rumor mill starts up. Okay, are they trying to trade him? They're trying to trade him. Well, Patriots have to call and try and make that trade if that's something that the Titans were going to do instead of just, it's phone works both ways is, I guess, the way that I should say it. But I think she genuinely would have tried, but I don't think that the Patriots were in a position to make that trade based on the Mayo contract, and they ultimately saw that whole thing through. Tehran says Brian Callahan has to treat Titans versus Patriots like it's the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's the thing. People made jokes, and they're a bit cruel, right? The jokes about, well, the most pre-fired coach in America coming into last season was Mike McCarthy, right? And Mike McCarthy, as far as I know, not fired. Just his contract expired with the Dallas Cowboys, and now we'll see what Dallas and maybe Chicago and anybody else that'd be interested in Mike McCarthy end up doing here. But Mike McCarthy, most pre-fired coach in America, was the narrative that was out there prior to the 2024 season beginning. I am willing to stake my professional career on Brian Callahan being the most pre-fired coach in America. Because we're waiting for May for the schedule to come out. But if it's week 1, Titans hosting the Patriots, in fact, that's probably the best case scenario for Brian Callahan, because you would hate for Brock. And again, you don't want to make jokes at their expense because these are real life things, and there are many, many people attached to them that would also lose their job, and you have to be cognizant of that. Just like for Carthon and Robinson and everybody else that's been fired here. For Vrabel, these things are tough. But in reality, unless it's week 1, that's a date worth circling. Because I don't know that there's a more pre-fired coach in America than Brian Callahan. If he loses, again, they lose by double digits all the time. So if he loses by 10 plus against Mike Vrabel's Patriots at Nissan Stadium, and Mike gets to look like the war hero after the fact, it almost doesn't matter what kind of record the Patriots finished with last year. As long as they beat you, that is not going to be good for the person who currently holds that job at this point in time. I think that Woodrin says on YouTube, how much access did Rand give you? Just curious. Me personally, I'm not going to pretend like I was super close with Rand Carthon, but we had a fine working relationship, and I don't think we need to get into all the ins and outs of how much access any one particular person provided, because I think that would put them. Obviously he's not in the position now, but I thought Rand was pretty transparent with me. Hell, he did a 3-hour draft show with me and Greg Cosell where we went through all the ins and outs of all manner of different things. Now I'm not writing feature stories on Rand Carthon the way that some people would. I think Tehran at some point, TD, if you're still in the chat, you might correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you do I think TD did a sit down with Vrabel and Carthon at the time when they were still pushing the collaboration narrative, right? And that's not Tehran's fault. That's their fault for trying to sell them something that was bullshit, but sell everybody something that was bullshit. But if I remember correctly, there was a sit down with a level of access. But, I mean, I've had Rand on the radio show. We're always around each other at things like the Combine and Senior Bowl and stuff like that. I wouldn't say it was, it was definitely more open than John Robinson was. And I had a good relationship with John too. Teron confirms that he did have to sit down with the two of them. Yes. So yeah, I had zero issues with the level of access that I personally had to Rand Carthon. And if I felt like I needed to pick up the phone and make a call or send a text, like that was never something that I felt like I couldn't do, if that's what you're asking. But, to compare and contrast, I also thought that I could pick up the phone and touch base with John if I needed to. Now, how honest they could be with us at any given point, were they just going to give you all the goods anytime you ask for it? No, that's not ever. That's not ever how that works. But these people are accessible. They try to be accessible to an extent because they don't want a bunch of false narratives out there about their shit. And then, the thing that they most certainly don't want to happen is to get fired from a job, leave on good terms, i.e. Rand Carthon, and then see somebody slinging a bunch of shit behind their back in print media. That's what you don't want to happen, which is why, again, these people stay accessible to people who are tasked with talking about them or writing about them or tweeting about them or whatever the case may be about them on a regular basis, because they want their side out there. And then it's incumbent upon us to filter through what we think is factually accurate, what we think is fair or unfair, and what we think is bullshit. That's our determination to make. And then it's incumbent upon you guys to be discerning about your various football teams. But the cons of this are when the Titans host the Patriots, Brian Callahan has to win. Brian, he has to win. He has to win. Maybe if they lose and they keep it close, maybe it's not an ultimate death sentence for Brian Callahan, but nobody feels like a more pre-fired coach than Brian Callahan with that Patriots date, unless it's week one. I think that might be, like I said, I think that might be the best case scenario for Brian Callahan is if you can just get it over with, because it's easier to sell 0-1. No, I still got this. Give me more time, as opposed to if you're 2-6 with the Patriots coming down, getting ready to fall to 2-7. That is something that is worth monitoring at this point in time. A to Z Sports Primetime is presented by Zen Sports. Promo code ATOZTN gets you in on all the action. Zen Sports has your no danger first wager up to $100. With that promo code, terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789 for more information. Zen Sports, where betting just got better. All right, so Sunday Fun Day. What was the thing that you enjoyed the most this weekend? Maybe you enjoyed not having the Titans in your life, because they have been pretty miserable at this point. Jonathan Corker says, Teron, thank you and Buck for signing my jersey a couple of years ago at Washington. Well, you're most welcome. I personally probably made that less valuable, but it's always cool to meet you guys out in the wild. TD and I mean, the road crew at this point is Teron, me, Wyatt, Nick Suss, and PK. It's just five of us. So for the five of us to do every game and to get to meet you guys out there and to get to visit with you and hear how you're doing, other than to read it from a chat or something like that, all these different things, I do enjoy it. So anytime that you guys want to come up and chop it up, it is always appreciated and certainly welcome. At this point, Ryan Fields says, seeing Ron Slay on the halftime of the UK game, he is hilarious. Slay is the man. Slay, you want to talk about people that have been critical of the Titans? Slay has been on their necks. I've been critical, but Slay has been. I believe he called something today on Twitter maggot behavior. It is just excellent. Just excellent at this point in time. I think there are a couple of different things that you could pull from. What did you enjoy this weekend? Sunday Fun Day, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. In the comment section, if you would like. Chosen says, I enjoyed seeing reporters and radio personalities stand up for Rand. Well, listen, Rand Carthon's an adult. He can do what he can, or do what he wants, handle the situation as he wants. He doesn't need any of us to cape up for him, right? And to be honest, I wasn't standing up for Rand on the level of that person should have kept his job. I was standing up for Rand on what people either inside or outside of the building were comfortable putting out into the world after his departure. And I thought that was hideous. Hideous. It's standing up for somebody who was done wrong on the way out the door. And also, Tehran and I, we did the podcast on Friday. We talked about this. One person was made the scapegoat for how miserable they have been when the vast majority of people associated with that nightmare were still there. So I did not like that either. I thought that was garbage. I still think that's garbage. So that it's standing up for somebody who I believe got done wrong, even if I would not personally advocate for that person to keep their job if everything was evil. Or evil. It was evil. If everything was equal. Slip of the tongue. I do think it was evil a little strong, but it wasn't very nice. And I don't like that. And I would be shitty if somebody did that to me. So that is definitely the way. It's the golden rule, right? We don't use it enough anymore. Maybe people don't know what the golden rule is anymore because we're so used to treating each other so poorly on a regular basis. But treat others as you would want to be treated. And I personally would not like to be treated the way that Rand Carthon was. That was garbage. And those people who did that to Rand Carthon, wherever they might be, are garbage. And I have made my thoughts known on that on a regular basis at this point. So happy to stick up for somebody who I thought was done wrong and somebody who I believe to be a good person. I thoroughly liked Rand. I mean, that's the other thing that confused me about PK's piece. And Paul and I have talked on the phone since that happened. We don't have to get into what we talked about, but it's always funny to catch up with your peers and colleagues about, hey, how batshit crazy is this week? And what are you hearing? And what versus what I'm hearing and all these other things. But I did catch up with PK about this, and I meant to ask him about it, and I honestly forgot. I don't think he did himself any favors by saying that he didn't get along with Rand, like on the outset. We're not the story, and people can make whatever inferences about who I like and who I don't like, or who Tehran likes and who Tehran doesn't like. I don't think there's anybody that Tehran is the most even-handed of any of us not named Wyatt at this point. I run a little hotter, as you guys may know, but I didn't, I just don't think that. I mean, I understand why he felt like he needed to disclose it, but we're not the story on a regular basis. So people don't care what our opinions. I mean, maybe they do to an extent, but I don't think that helped Paul, even if, the piece itself was not going to help Paul. And not that Paul's looking for help necessarily. But I thought there was a couple of different things that I would have. It's easy to do in retrospect, right? Just like criticizing play calling in a football game. It's like, I don't know. I might not have done this, that, or that. In the way, especially with the people that are comfortable leaking lazy black man narratives out there, I would not necessarily. And I've had plenty of people send me that kind of shit, and me personally, I did not feel it credible enough, or I did not feel it credible enough. One, and I did not. How should I say this? I don't know. Some of it felt personal. Like, tell me that didn't feel a little personal. Whoever leaked that out there. There's a difference between discerning personal criticism and professional criticism, and that is there's just a couple of different things that you have to be cognizant of, I think. And far be it for me to backseat journalist PK. He can do what he wants with what he wants, but I think all of us have to be discerning to an extent, and what sounds like a hit piece and what doesn't. All right, Sunday Funday. What is the best thing that you saw this weekend? I'll tell you mine. It's former Titans related. There just seems to be a bunch of good things happening to former people who associated with this franchise, as opposed to current people who associate this franchise. But that's fine. I'll tell you mine here in just a second, right after I remind you that TrueMav Fitness is there to help you capitalize on your fitness goals. TrueMavFitness.com is where you go for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated. TrueMav Fitness is there for you. Personal training, group fitness classes, an open gym for you to work out as you please. Go to TrueMavFitness.com for your first workout free. Okay. A lot of you wanting to relitigate the Rand Carthon stuff. I mean, what's done is done. It's unfortunate. We're going to move on. Chosen says, Buck, how are you going to do Cosell this year since AAS ruined it by firing? Well, me and Greg are still going to do it. I don't give a shit who she fires. I mean, well, I guess we'll ask the new GM if he wants to be up there with us, or we'll ask Callahan if he wants to do it. I think that is, yeah, that's not going away. We'll still do it. We'll still sell the thing out. Rand was good, again, because he's a good person and he enjoys getting out there and connecting with you guys to an extent. Certainly, as things spiraled on 3 and 14, he became less willing to get out there, and I think that did hurt him to a degree. But again, criticizing in retrospect. Yeah, we'll still do the event. We'll invite whomever the GM is, and we'll invite whoever the coach is. I invited both Callahan and Rand last year. Callahan had an obligation. Rand was able to attend. And if neither of them show up, we'll still do it, and Greg will still kill it, and we'll have a great time, because that's what it is. Best thing that I saw this weekend, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, Sunday Fun Day. Tehran says, best thing I saw this weekend was my granddaughter smiling at me on Zoom and saying, Pop, Pop. Look at that. He's a Pop, TD. How about that? How sweet. That's very wholesome. I love to see it. It's been a bad week on a variety of different fronts, but there's always something good that you can pull from it. I think people threatening to boo if I invite Brinker. I don't know Chad like that. I'll be honest. I've had high and by conversations with Chad, but I don't know that person on a personal level, not to the point where I don't know. And also I don't think that person would do that. I don't, because he's also cognizant of narratives, fair or unfair, that are out there about him at this point in time. Joseph Mitchell says, Buck, how about my guy John Morant beating Anthony Edwards last night? Didn't just beat him, went over the top of Ant to take it to the rack. I mean, Ja is excellent. I would love to be able to talk about the Grizzlies on radio more often. I know that all of Nashville will turn me off as soon as I say the word Memphis, which is crazy. I wish people would get over that. But it's kind of like Vols fans don't care about the Titans. Preds fans don't care about the Grizzlies. Grizzlies fans don't care about the Vols. Like, that's just kind of, I think some Vols probably spread the most across the state of Tennessee. But yeah, I wish you guys would care more about the NBA, but I get it. Ja's the biggest superstar in the state. We can talk about that. Maybe you don't want to talk about that. Maybe you'll just, throw your head up and roll your eyes and say, well, nobody watches the NBA. It's unwatchable. All they do is take threes. Not Ja. Ja doesn't just take threes. He does that too, but he does a lot of other fun shit you should be watching. Benjamin Buck picks mine, says watching Henry was really fun as usual. Yes, that's my Sunday fun day. That I got to sit back on the couch, not have to worry about going to a Titans game, dragging myself to a 3 and 14 Titans game. But I got to sit back on the couch and watch Derek Lamar Henry do what he does best and do it exceptionally against the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday.
They get their two big stars back. Meanwhile, there goes Henry. There goes Henry all the way for the touchdown.
He apparently, his fastest tracked or GPS time this year is faster than he's been in the past 3 years. So tough scene for the Derrick Henry's lost a step crowd. He is as fast as he's ever been, which is crazy to say because he's still 250 pounds and he's 31 years old. And he's out there doing it against the Pittsburgh damn Steelers, not some cupcake type of defense. 26 carries, 186 yards, 7.2 per carry, and 2 touchdowns with a long of 44 that you just saw. Derek Lamar Henry heading to the divisional round to play the Buffalo Bills on the road. That will be no small feat. Buffalo handled Denver pretty easily today, 31-7. That Tampa Bay Washington game just started. The first quarter is almost concluded there. You saw Houston get it done against the Chargers on Saturday as well, and Philadelphia just kind of waltzed by Green Bay. But for Derrick Henry, they've got the next toughest draw in the postseason, which is Josh Allen, and that's going to be a tough thing for him to try and keep up with. But I'll look forward to seeing it because there's one person that I don't doubt anymore, and that is absolutely Derrick Henry. There are a bunch of good things that are being sent. Ben Hall says Amy Adams needs the apocalypto treatment. You guys are messed up, man. I got to get out of here. Y'all have been in your houses too long. Your favorite team has hurt you in a variety of different ways this week, and many of you have been snowed in from Snowpocalypse Nashville 2025. But that's okay. We're going to get through it together. We're going to talk about your GMs tomorrow at great length. There's been a lot of GM interviews done. We'll talk about who the favorites should be, certainly, and kind of who to keep an eye on out of this long list of people that they continue to interview with. But join us tomorrow from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. Mike Giardi of the Boston Sports Journal will be on. He's covering Mike Vrabel's press conference. He's going to hop on the radio show. We got Diana Rossini coming on the show this week. We're probably going to have Lawan at some point. We're gonna dig into a couple of we got a national championship to talk about. Forgot about that. Texas being ousted from the playoff picture. So now it's Ohio State and Notre Dame. Many, many things to talk about. So we hope you'll hang out with us tomorrow from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there.
Go home! Go home!